All right, so maybe what 2 months ago, we reviewed a movie, Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America, the sequel to Coming to America, and in that review, I said that this movie is very much of the time, the sequel. It's very soft, and I wish that Eddie had brought the same energy, much like the guys in the barber shop, to that movie. Well, the Nutty Professor is Eddie, unfiltered, and here we go tonight. We're gonna bring in the fabulous Hercules, looking strong as ever. Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Hmm.
I was so happy. Hercules. I was so happy with doing this movie. You don't even know. Yes. Yes.
Now
There is
tonight,
so
this is for those who don't know, this is our Thursday episode. Thursdays we pick. We're gonna switch that up in a little bit, and maybe we give the joystick to somebody else. But tonight it is Vic's pick, and in a little bit I'm gonna ask Vic why he picked this movie. But let's bring in the other host of this show, the executive consultant. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite excellent, looking as only excellent can look. Great, wonderful, and spectacular at the same time. Executive consultant in the house, ready to talk about some Nutty Professor for reasons it's going to surprise you.
Okay. And also, we should say that we do our recasted separate. Look for that on our YouTube channel, UPRE. If you're having trouble, UPRE reviews, and they'll pop up and you'll see the whole gamut of everything that we've done. Check out our recasted if you only have a few minutes because they are hilarious and we bring it, and it's more like a 90s show in that we do as much as we can or as much as YouTube allows. But tonight, right now, this is the review reaction to the Nutty Professor. I believe it came out in 1996. I'm going to read the synopsis, then I'm going to hand it over to Fabulous Hercules. He's going to tell us a little bit why he picked this movie and perhaps what he liked about it. But here we go. Professor Clump's biggest problem isn't his weight, but his lack of self-worth. But after breaking the code of immediate weight loss, he opts to use the drug on himself in order to live the life he's always dreamed of. Now, Vic, as I said earlier, this is your pick. Why this one?
okay. This movie at the time that it came out resonated with me more than anything ever has.
Okay.
Because I was Sherman Clump. I was just a young Sherman Clump at the time.
Okay.
And if there was only one word to describe me at the time, you know what I mean? And that's soft, because that is exactly the way that Sherman was portrayed in this
Mhm.
movie. Like, it was just so well done, especially like the fact that she didn't even like say it, but he was put in the friend zone. He could feel it after the date. He he pretty much knew everything. You could see everything in his face, how he felt. I knew exactly what that was like. I was that fat kid. And honestly, more than anything, like and mind you, the movie is just hilarious. I've seen this movie probably more than any other movie in my lifetime. I had the VHS. I watched it over and over and over. My mother was just like, "Oh, again?" Yes, because it was just so great, especially the grandmother. Oh man, she's just so. When I was young, I used to always have relations. Every nice gentleman bring me flowers and candy, take me a movie, show me a lovely evening. Then I'll give him that. Then I can take him home and give him the hot, lovely relation. Relation is a beautiful thing, especially to young people. Oh man, that shit was just so great because Sherman's never had relations. And then all of a sudden the mother comes out of nowhere. She's like, "Mama, you gonna embarrass my baby." After all of that shit, and Sherman comes up with the knife ready to stab his mother.
Yeah, you see him. He's like, "I'm gonna kill you."
Shit, that was crazy. Oh man, it was just so great. Even watching it again now, it brought back so many memories and feelings and just things. I just remember just being that kid, just being so desperate and wanting to wanting to to take some kind of Buddy Wonder tonic in order to lose the weight, so then all of a sudden the girl that I wanted would want me. But then the reality of the situation is that mind you, the best lesson that I ever learned was from this movie, and that is no matter what, you got to strut. That is advice that I've taken with me for the rest of my life. And like watching this again, and mind you, I haven't seen this in like 10 years. So watching this again just brought all of that back. It made me feel so good. It made me reflect on my life. It made me reflect on Buddy Love's advice. Oh man, and like, and mind you, and my main quote from this movie, and this is the one thing that I really did learn, and Sherman Klump said it at the end of the movie. I learned one thing from Buddy, that life isn't about being happy with how much you weigh, but just being happy with yourself. And I love that. I love that so much. Hence I am Groot, and I love it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. I mean, I used to care so much about what people thought and perceptions and me being fat and all of that. Like I used to worry so much, just like Sherman. That's why, like, and now I'm like Buddy Love. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. Like at least the last 15 years I've been Buddy Love. Not that crazy, but if you get my meaning, like because this is one of the movies that just gave me so much confidence, self-confidence in myself. And that's one of the reasons why I love this movie, because at the right time during my development, it really resonated with me.
A lot of what you said, I can understand and appreciate. Thank you for being open, about that. A lot of people, they are very insular and they wouldn't have said all that you did. So I appreciate that. I commend you for that. Chris, did you want to jump in here a second, or you want me to go? Okay. I think, as I said, and I teased it a little bit when I did the synopsis of the film. I think, to Vic's point, and I saw this only on the second rewatch. When I first watched, well, the first, but the first few times when you watch this movie, I always looked at it as not that he didn't have self-esteem, but that it was just because he was overweight, and that was the only hang up. But as an adult watching the movie, when you watch it back, and I think that might be what a lot of people miss, because when this came out, I remember a lot of people had a lot of critique about it, that it's nowadays they call it fat shaming. Back in the 90s, there was no such thing as fat shaming. It was just they're making fun of black people. They're making fun of fat people, right? The shaming and all these terms and everything like that is a 21st century thing, right? But nowadays they would call it fat shaming, but actually they're teaching self-worth. And you just mentioned the quote at the end of the movie, which I think truly solidifies who Buddy was. And I'll get more into that in a little bit. But he says, no matter what, as you said, you have to strut, meaning Sherman, regardless if I'm going away, because Buddy, what love was a part of him. It wasn't like a Mr. Hyde thing, where it was a monster. It was always a part of him. It was just subdued, right? You have to love who you see. And more than anything, that's what Buddy Love was. They said that he was so over the top, as Vic says, because he had so much testosterone in his body, right? Well, because Sherman never loved who he saw, he overate. Because he never spoke up to his parents. It's one thing if, as Vic says, he was a teenager or a young kid at the time when this movie came out, right? But Sherman was a grown man still eating the same way he did. Sherman was a grown man having a bad day, quote unquote, and going home and eating, I'm not making this up, but tubs of ice creams and then Oreos or whatever kind of cookies those were, right? So he had the workout tapes. He had the working knowledge. He had the means by which to lose the weight, but he lacked the motivation, because to him it didn't matter, because he was valueless. He was worthless, right? And so that's why he was so morbidly obese. Buddy Love was so exuberant because he didn't earn it. And there are scenes that I like in this movie. Again, watching this as an adult now, when you see Buddy Love after Sherman's drank the potion for the first time, and he's lost all the weight. Buddy Love is still eating so many plates of food. Buddy Love is still eating unhealthily. So we see it's the same mentality. Just the id, if you will, is different, right? Because he looks superficially good, and they're saying it's also a commentary on then society in America, and also today we're still superficial, even though everybody has a classification and a name, right? That given time, if he didn't have the potion, he would eat himself into morbid obesity again. right? He didn't value himself in that. Now that he got the attention from the other superficial people, it wasn't quality, and I'll say this, it wasn't quality females he was getting, because the Professor Purdy, who he actually did care about as Sherman, right, and to some extent Buddy, he just pushed her aside as Buddy, because now all these women that he had only fantasized and could only fantasize about, now they wanted him. He was the center of attention. And because they were shallow, they wanted to be the center of attention, and they gravitated toward him. But the woman that he actually the one for whom he actually drank the potion, that one he shunted aside. And she even says, I looked into his eyes and there was a caring nature in his soul, the eyes are the window to the soul. That's the person I wanted to know. But he only started to value, as he valued himself as just a body, he started to value her as merely a body. And that is how he lost her more than anything. And so it's a really deeper movie than I think people might give it credit, or at least I did when I saw it. Now, I think if this movie was what, 96? Yeah, I just turned a teenager in 96. So I didn't really get it. And then subsequent viewings and even the sequel, okay, Nutty Professor 2, I didn't catch that. But this time when I went back, I try and look at these movies with a different lens. I don't look at it the same way I did when I was whatever age. I think that's irresponsible of me. But when I saw this, I really tried to break it down, psychoanalyze it. And I really, really saw that. And I like that they put those subtle nuances in there. The way that he lets the dean talk to him, his boss, with no respect. Why? Because he doesn't value himself. Regardless if that's your boss or not, you will let your boss know, this is what I will accept and this is what I won't. Sherman was the reason why the university was still staying aloft, right? But he never said it. It was Buddy who said it. Now, the movie, because it's a romantic comedy, it plays up the testosterone that he's doing all these antics. Go to the scene when he's in the lounge where he doesn't care, right? And I'm not saying that Eddie Murphy is an ugly man, but he wouldn't be a model. There are that the model industry is looking for. There are model pretty guys that they go after, right? But he had confidence in himself because he was the man he always wanted to be in his head. So he didn't care that he was laughing obnoxiously. He didn't know that he was always funny then. He could have been like that as Sherman. And I think that Miss Purdy would have actually responded, because it's my opinion. And again, in the 21st century, this is going to get me flagged. But women respond to strong men.
Facts.
Heterosexual women do.
Facts.
And she was a heterosexual woman in this movie. And she would have responded to Sherman at any size had he had testosterone or shown it at any level. And the problem with Sherman was he was so hopped up on estrogen that he forgot he was a man. That's my take on it. Chris, it's your turn.
Wow, that was a powerful last line there. Let me start off by saying how much this movie is a roller coaster of emotions for me. Not because the movie itself portrayed itself to be that way, because I don't believe it did. It was a roller coaster of emotions for me because it resonated so much with me. Because there's a fat kid, and I mean, he's 35, but he's a fat kid, and he just can't stop eating. It reminds me of a certain Austin Powers movie. There was a lot.
Chris, you got to do the line. You got to do the line. Come on.
No, I'm not doing that line. I don't even know what line you're talking about.
I eat because I'm unhappy.
Stop.
I'm unhappy because I eat. It's a vicious cycle.
There was a lot to like about this movie. Let me talk about some of my favorite scenes. Here's one of my favorite scenes. The dinner table. Of course, right? That's the reason why they made the sequel. The dinner table is funny. Why? Because of the grandmother. Vic talked about a lot with the relations. I give you credit. Great job there, Vic. What really was funny to me is a phrase that I used to say for the longest time, probably until about 3 years ago. Come on, Cletus. Come on. That was always hilarious and hysterical at the same time to excellence. It was fantastic because the look in her eyes, or his eyes, whatever you want to say, but the look in the eyes and the way they're like, come on, Cletus, come on. It was just great. So I remember I used to say that when I used to play video games and challenge people. Come on, Cletus. It was great. Let me tell you what I didn't like about that. Some scenes I didn't like about the movie. The dinner scene. The reason why they made the sequel. This is why, right? as much as I like the grandma, not a big fan of the little brat kid. I don't know. Maybe I don't like kids. I don't know. I have 2 daughters, so I don't say that. But I didn't like the little brat kid, right? He farted. That was his joke. Like that's my testicle takeaway. I don't have sophomoric humor, so the farting thing never really was all that funny to me. And him just farting, and then mommy Darius is going Hercules. It's funny. I want to give a shout out to Eddie Guerrero. Woo, I'm in wrestling. Eddie Murphy, because I felt like he played Buddy Love very, very well as a villain for this movie. At first, you thought he was going to be a little nice, a little sweet, obnoxious, but nice and sweet. He's beating up Dave Chappelle. We'll talk about that later. And then at the end, or toward the end of the movie, he turned full on heel. And I thought that was funny. The little scrawny little kid that tried to help him out and got knocked out twice and then woke back up and knocked him out. Mm-hmm. This decent addition. I would tell you somebody who stole the show, and I wish I thought I was going to talk about him in this movie, but I wasn't prepared, and I do apologize. And that's the guy that was in charge, the boss. The dean. The dean. I thought he had some of the funniest one-liners in this movie. Can I get you anything? And the rack of lamb came up. Oh man, tears dawned in my eyes. It was solid. It was decent, but it was ridiculous at the same time. There was a lot of ridiculousness in this movie where I was like, okay. And then let's talk about Jada Pinkett Smith, as she's known now. Hussy is not a good term for her, but that's what I want to call her. Okay. No.
Terrible.
I'm sorry. The same thing as always, right? The same thing that they try to build up with these people. Why is it that she goes on a date with Sherman, and then the very next day she goes on a date with Buddy, and she's talking to Sherman about it? You trying to play the field?
I'll give you that.
Right? And then how fast do you all fall in love? Didn't y'all just meet 12 hours ago? And now all of a sudden he's on your mind. You can't stop thinking about him. She's on your mind. I'm going to take a dangerous love potion or fat reducing potion, and I'm going to risk it all. I'm going to risk everything for this damn woman I just met 12 hours ago? Tomfoolery, ridiculousness, almost on the level of these two recasted. But that's what I have to say about this movie. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our final thoughts of this movie, find out what we're reviewing next Tuesday and next Thursday, along with some other discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Unpopular Review.
Is it possible to learn this power? Not from a Jedi.
I feel so helpless.
Chosen one!
DreamWorks Pictures presents A Story for Our Time.
Look at your life through heaven's eyes.
A celebration of the human spirit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are back, and coming up this Tuesday, we're going to be reviewing the next chapter in the Star Wars franchise, Revenge of the Sith, and next Thursday, it is what James was alluding to earlier, our Fan Pick Thursday, which is The Prince of Egypt, first one coming up. This was a fan pick on YouTube, and if you want to be able to pick a movie that we review, please leave a comment on our YouTube channel, UPREs, right up there next to Vic. UPRE, if you're not subscribed to us, please go ahead and subscribe to us, and you're able to pick a movie we're going to review next month. This movie's so big next week, Prince of Egypt, that C the Superior is actually going to come and do this movie with us, right? So she's in the comments and she's talking her little mess, right? Her little He-Man woman say, yeah, it's next week. She's talking that mess. You know what else is next week? My birthday. Boom. But she will be here with us next week to review that, so please make sure you're watching this. Also, if you are following or subscribed to us in UPRE, check out That's So Caden. Caden Dirt Sheet. The Dirt Sheet Caden Flip-Flops. Very on special where he talks about the Oscar Award-winning No Man Land in his title segment called The Award Goes To, as well as also watch out because they're reviewing the Loki movies all the way up into the Loki series. Right now, they just finished reviewing, also, if you look on our UPRE subscription on YouTube, just finished reviewing Thor. And this Saturday, they're going to be reviewing the first Avengers. So check that out. Lots of content for you here at UPRE. But I got off topic because today we're talking about the Nutty Professor, which is Fabulous Hercules pick right up there. And speaking of Fabulous Hercules, if you go ahead with your final thoughts, please.
Oh man, there's so much to say. I love this movie so much. I mean, I pretty much just said it earlier before, but things that I didn't say. Okay, one scene that I really, really, really loved, and that just makes me always made me happy was the workout scene right after he got all of that confidence because he asked her out on a date, and then Miss Purdy said yes. And another thing, when she said yes, he looked down and he was all like, yes, I am. And I wanted to stab him every single time I saw that. And then and as soon as she said yes, I'd love to be like, really? And I was just like, oh man, damn. And I know what that's like. But when right after that, he got into his little workout kick, and you could see all of the areas where he just wasn't doing well. He was trying to hit the ball. He was trying to jump on the trampoline. He was trying to do the workouts and all of that. And he was trying to run up the stairs and do everything. And then eventually he just kept getting better and better. And to the point where he was doing the workouts and the freaking music just got you into it. I'm so excited. And you were just like happy for him. And I was tearing for this motherfucker because I was just like, yo, and then everybody in the crowd is just clapping and coming because he's doing the workout. Man, I just felt this to the core, you know what I mean? Like, and to piggyback on the whole thing with Jada Pinkett, like, when they had that conversation, he says to her, when Sherman says to her, hey, do you find him attractive? And she's like, yes, he's very athletic and blah, 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 but I don't feel comfortable talking to you about that. And then she gives him a little tap on the shoulder, like, you sure? Like, and then he's like, yeah, because, she put him in the friend zone. She don't want to talk to him about that. So I get that. But the one thing that I never understood, because looking at this back, I never understood because she said to Sherman, Buddy asked me out and he said it was your idea.
Mm-hmm.
I never got that part. I don't know where the hell that came from. I didn't hear how Buddy said this to her. Like, I don't know where she got that from. So that was a little sneaky right there, if that was on her. You know what I mean? So, like, I always wondered what that was, or if that was just a blooper. Now, other than that, clearly the grandmother, the father, the mother, oh, Hercules. Oh, man. And honestly, they are the reasons why the second movie was made. And like, there's so much to say, but I will watch this movie again. I know it just about word for word, especially the dinner scene parts. And, man, I just can't say enough, like, shout out to Eddie Murphy. This is when Eddie Murphy was, still doing some of his best stuff, but he had to start toning it down.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that it happens. You get older, you have kids, you got to start toning your stuff down. But this is one of the last classics that he has. Clearly, it's all fingers up because I love this movie so much.
All right. A lot of what Vic said, I agree with, as I said earlier. In closing, though, I compare Sherman Klump to his brother. I forget the brother's name. And we see him at the dinner table. Now, his whole family is obese, right? But at least you can tell that his brother does work out to some capacity. He has some musculature on him that is visible. And even though his brother is overweight by whatever degree, he doesn't lack confidence.
Nope.
He loves himself. And I will give that to everybody at that family table, including, as Chris calls him, the little brat who farts. I think that's what his credit was in the movie. But they all loved what they saw in the mirror. And I think that as far as, let me say this, as far as a movie character that inspired me, we'll get to that later when we go on our franchise. If you saw the last episode, Chris teased it in a little bit, but teased it as far as what that was, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I had to learn, and I think everybody should. I don't know if everybody has learned that. I don't think so, based on some of the actions that people take, to love who they see in the mirror, right? Now, for whatever reason, people want to look like this person or that person, or even if somebody who's bigger than them, they think, oh, well, you're already, they always call them skinny, but they don't mean it in a pejorative sense, right? Oh, you're already skinny or you're already thin. And they say in their mind, yeah, but I don't look like so-and-so who I have envisioned in my head. That's their buddy love, right? And that's the whole thing that I got from this movie, The Nutty Professor, that everybody has their buddy love vision of themselves, of who they want to be, of who the alpha is in their life, of who the epitome of womanhood, the epitome of masculinity is, whatever that is. And I wish for Sherman in this movie, because I'm not going to talk about it in the sequel, but in this one, that he had learned, one of the lessons that he learned was to love himself. Because even in the end, even as Chris says, he goes full heel, Buddy still wanted the best for him because Buddy was a part of him. And if he learned to love himself, Buddy would still be there, right? If he had loved himself all those 35 years or some percentage thereof, Buddy would not have been so extreme, my opinion, right? Of course, as I said, the movie plays up to 1,000% testosterone and all that for comedic effect. But I think if this movie were real, that's the cumulative effect would be the Buddy love, right? And to Jada Pinkett, let me just say this: she's one of the crushes. As I said, Christina Ricci as a child, Jada Pinkett throughout the 90s and the 2000s. I still give her credit to this day, and I don't mean that just superficially, but superficially, she is an attractive woman. All right, and in this one, again, she was initially attracted to Sherman. Right, we don't know if it was physical attraction, but based on the dialogue, it was a sapio or sapiosexual attraction to him. Right, she was attracted to his mind, and once he was embarrassed by Dave Chappelle, and I think this is credited as his first starring role. He said this in interviews before that Eddie put him on, and he gave him that opportunity, right, and gave him a shining thing. Chris Shagan said no, so maybe it's something else that he did first. I don't know, but he just gives up because of he's embarrassed, and he doesn't want to go out with Miss Purdy anymore. He'd rather do it as Buddy Love. And he abandoned her. Now, yes, do women say to one guy, or females say to one guy, hey, yeah, I'll go out with you. And the next day, yeah, they go out. Okay, but that's today's society. That's the culture, right? And when I say culture, I mean both guys and girls do that, right? But legitimately, she did want that about Professor Clump. She was attracted to him. But when he made himself the friend, when he showed her, hey, I'm an asexual woman, and she was like, oh, I'm a heterosexual woman, she knew that there was no future in that. She's a smart woman. She knows that. So what is she going after asexual woman for? She's a heterosexual. She went after Buddy because Buddy showed interest. He showed drive. He showed passion. That's something that Sherman could not do because Sherman didn't believe that him being overweight allowed him to do so. And so I give her some leniency on that if we're in a court of law. As far as this movie goes, it's a thumbs up for me.
All right, a little bit of facts. Got a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb.com. It cost $54 million to make. It made $273 million worldwide, $128 million. And what that tells me is that even though most people didn't like it as far as critics, it still made a boatload of money because $128 million in the United States alone automatically equals a sequel in the 90s. Automatically equals a sequel in the 90s and early 2000s, even if it doesn't need a sequel. Example, Fast and Furious. Now, in my final thoughts, I decided to do something a little bit new. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible, but I want to give an MVP award and I want to give a What the Heck award, okay? So I'll start with my MVP award. My MVP award goes to the No Name Dean. Very funny, very comical. I just thought he was very, very timely. Loved this man on the screen. Stole almost every scene he was in. Now, the What the F award. Jada Pinkett. You sat here.
What the F award?
Yes. What the F were you doing on my screen?
All right.
You are such a hussy, a two-faced. Like, what were you doing? I can't succumb to James's interpretations about what she was thinking. Oh, she's asexual. Oh, she's sappy-sexual. No, you knew what you were doing. I'm going to talk to Sherman. I'm going to say, oh, I don't like Buddy at first. He's come across as an asshole. Lord knows I've heard that. He's come across as an asshole. Oh, but I'm attracted to him for all these reasons. I'm just making up in my head. But I don't want to talk to you about it. But I'm still talking to you about it. You think you'll hook us up even though we just had this date yesterday? We just had this day yesterday. You might want to go somewhere else or not, but maybe you probably don't now because I just said it. So why don't you tell me, hey, go out with Buddy because you're probably a nice guy, so you're going to do that. Oh, I went out with him. He's a butthole. He decided to do this. So I'm going to go out with you again. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. Oh, my gosh, you're in the bed sleeping with 3 women at the same time as Buddy. What was I next? Ha, ha, ha. Call me next Tuesday. I don't understand what she was doing on the screen. Not a big fan. Now, as far as to answer this bit of questions, I really want to give this movie a thumbs up, man. I really do, but Jada Pinkett did it for me. This is actually Dave Chappelle's first known role in movies. 1993, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Stay tuned, because as much as Vic loves this movie, I loved Robin Hood, Men in Tights. So we will be reviewing that one, ladies and gentlemen. As far as this movie is concerned, it gets a thumbs up. It was entertaining. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for us here. Fabulous Hercules, take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again on Unpopular Reviews Entertainment. This was the Nutty Professor. And all I have to say is no matter what, you got to strut. Thank you and have a great night.